The Reformed Gamers is brought to you 100% independent and ad-free thanks to our dear patrons over on patreon.com/reformedgamers to get yourself sweet, sweet perks such as uncut early access to the episodes, special episodes of the podcast, and more. Head on over to patreon.com/reformedgamers and consider lending support and joining the herd. Without further ado, let's hop into the show.
Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 185 of The Reformed Gamers, a show all about theology, video games, and being disappointed by Nintendo yet again. I am your hurt Metroid fan host. Way too many adjectives in that name. I'm one of your hosts, Logan.
And I'm his co-host, Adam.
And I'm his guest host, Micah.
Guys, this isn't the Nintendo Direct reaction, spoiler cast, whatever you want to call it, okay? But I think we owe it to our listeners not to be pessimistic. We've done that enough on Twitter already. Put a lot of salty tweets out there. By a lot, I mean like two, if that. Like I've actually contained myself. I'm surprised. But let's get into it real quick before you get it. Favorite thing we saw on the Direct?
You first, Micah.
Mario Golf. Yeah, Mario Golf. Super Rush.
Mario Golf.
Yeah, super hyped for that game. I've actually never played a Mario Golf, but I love Mario sports games. Strikers, obviously. Speaking of Persona 5 Strikers. But yeah, Mario Golf for me. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would go Skyward Sword HD. Talking about a little in the pre-show. It's the one, main line game that I haven't played. And so did not have to use motion controls. Still didn't like really what I was seeing with maybe you fight with the right analog stick. I'd rather just hit the A button to stab people or whatever, swipe my sword. But either way, I'm just happy to get the opportunity to play that game on a modern console without crappy Wii graphics and crappy Wii motion controls. So I'm excited about that.
True that. That's gonna be my pick actually, because like you, that's one of the few Zelda games I haven't really played, and I think I maybe played the introduction a little bit on the Wii when I was borrowing that from a friend, but still glad to be able to play it, not have to worry about motion controls. It makes me happy, and I already have it pre-ordered, so there's that. But anyway, excited to play that. Dear listeners, you let us know what your favorite thing is. I put a tweet out, and I think some of y'all already did respond to it, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Not in this episode, but later, on Twitter. So let us know and all that stuff. In case you haven't noticed from reading the title of this episode, we're going to be talking about gametography, basically blending the worlds of video gaming and photography. And we're going to be talking about that here on the podcast. We brought Micah on because he is our resident gametographer. If you haven't seen his shots from Spider-Man, golly, Michael, what other games have you done?
Oh, man, just God of War, Tomb Raider, Jedi Fallen Order. Yeah, we'll get into it. All sorts of games.
Enough. Awesome possum. So he is our resident gametographer, and of course we'll give some recommends. What show is this? Give some recos.
We don't recommend, we recommends when we're talking about Twitter handles. You got what I'm saying there? We recommends.
I like what you're doing. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Wordplay.
We're gonna recommend some accounts that you can follow and have some fun there. Why did I say recommend? What is this? I'm losing my edge, man. I'm losing my edge. But one thing that we're not losing is housekeeping. So let's get into that before we get into the show. Quick announcement. We're doing a gametography contest in light of this episode here. Basically, the rules are one submission per person. So send your absolute best picture, photo, whatever you want to call it, from a game. Any video game. Just throwing that out there. Any video game. Could be Spider-Man, could be Horizon Zero Dawn, could be Days Gone, could be, I don't know, Halo if you got a really good shot there. Send
WarioWare.
WarioWare if you want. Miitopia on the 3DS. I don't know. Yeah. Send us your best shot. One submission per person. Submissions must be submitted on Twitter, and you have to tag the TRG Twitter account at TRG Podcast and use hashtag TRG gametography. If you need to know how to spell it, it will be in your show notes.
Oh, you adjusted it. I was doing a play on words with that one too. The TR gametography.
I know, but I was thinking like people might have a hard time pronouncing it, or like I'm just trying to make it easy for people.
I hear you. That is the better way of doing it. But I was doing that little play.
It was cool though. I did appreciate it. I'm not saying I hate
game recognized game. Game recognized
game.
game.
There we go. Contest ends on March 4th at noon Eastern. Okay, March 4th. So you have roughly a little over a week after this episode releases to public feeds. If you are listening on Patreon, you already have a head start by a couple of days, so use that wisely. Winner will be announced on episode 186. We'll have Micah, who is our resident gametographer, review all the submissions and pick a winner. The winner will get a $20, $25, it depends on what kind of store you're buying it from, but you're going to get a $20 to $25 gift card to the online store of your choice from Nintendo eShop, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, whichever one you prefer out of those. And
Stadia.
What's Stadia? What is Stadia? Get out of here with this business. This man over here. But yeah. So there's that gametography. Get to snapping some pictures. Send us your best. Now I'm thinking of Pokemon Snap, so I better hurry on through this list before I get totally derailed. New content. What is your favorite video game collab video that we put on YouTube featuring Reformed Jedi Pastor Dustin, Frostbite, Aki from Aki and Peach, Mufuki, Regenerator. There's several people on there talking about their favorite video games. Easily one of my favorite videos that I've ever gotten to edit for the YouTube channel. Go check that out. Link will be in your show notes. And join our Discord channel, server, whatever the word is, because our book club is meeting tonight, the night that this episode releases to public feeds, to go over the first 18 chapters of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So you have, depending on when you're listening to this, a mere handful of hours to get caught up and come join us over on the Discord server. We'd love to have you over there. Links to all of our socials and everything else will be in your show notes. Be sure to check those out. We'd love to connect with you. Without further ado, let's get into the show. Hello and welcome to the Reformed Gamers. I'd like to start the show like we always do. A little bit of what have we been playing. And Micah, you handsome, photogenic.
Watch it, man. Watch it.
I was like, don't be taking my
title.
I've
been gone for a while.
No beard over here. No beard over here.
There's no beard.
Sure, so I can't take that title.
Here we go. Okay, you handsome baby face. What have you been playing?
I'll take it. Still going through Control Ultimate Edition. I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. I've never played the DLC for Control, so I played through the AWE expansion pass, Altered World event, Alan Wake expansion, whatever you want to call it. It is Alan Wake focused. So if you're, I guess, spoiler, I don't know, if you don't know by now, Control and Quantum Break and Alan Wake are all in the same sort of universe. And so it's got a lot of sort of light and darkness gameplay like Alan Wake.
Nice.
You gotta you can always like pick up things with your levitation, like hurl it at people. So you pick up like a light, and it's like your flashlight. Basically, you find darkness spots you have to get rid of and things like that. But I won't go into spoilers for the DLC pack, but it's a good little expansion. Really enjoying Control still on PS5. It's a blast. That's kind of either that or on a beefy PC. These next gen consoles. That's the way to play that game.
Nice.
Next up, man. So this game kind of snuck up on me out of nowhere. I saw the trailer recently for a game called Speed Limit, and it's this 16-bit. Like high action escape game where you're basically just like running and gunning. Think like really stylized, like kind of John Woo, but 16-bit. You're just like running through a moving train, just taking guys out as they're trying to get you. And then you jump onto like a moving car and you're like going down the highway, like blasting dudes, and guys are trying to chase you in cars and motorcycles. It is an absolute adrenaline rush and a blast to play. I actually saw a shout out to Marty over at Nintendad's podcast, or is it Nintendads, I think. He was streaming it recently over on Switch, and it seemed like he was having a pretty good time with it. It's a hard game, but it's that type of game where you can like get right back into the action, kind of like Celeste or something. So you die and boom, you're right back in. So yeah, really great looking pixel art, and I've got 2 trophies left, Logan, and I bought it last night.
Oh,
FYI.
my Lanta.
Is
Now
it pretty
you're
short? Can you beat it in like one sitting?
Yeah, so one of the last trophies I have left is to beat it in 30 minutes. I beat it last night in about a 2-hour sitting or so on the first playthrough on normal. So yeah, it's just normal and easy, and then you unlock an infinity mode.
Nice.
But yeah, just a really kind of it came out of nowhere. Really cool game. Speed Limit. I think. Crud!
It looked cool.
The developer escapes me right now. Chuck something. Game Chuck is what it is. I believe is the developer. So yeah, check out Speed Limit. It's for PS4, PS5, Switch. I'm assuming other platforms, but that's all I know for
Stadia.
sure.
What is with the Stadia business tonight?
I love it.
Prime Gaming.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. When you tweeted at me and said that this had to get to the chopper trophy, I was like, say no more. I need this game in my life.
Yeah, I saw that and I just laughed so hard. I was like, oh, I got to tell Logan, get to the chopper.
Any game studio that puts a Arnold Schwarzenegger themed trophy in their game is a friend of mine, and I will happily play your game. So
one more quick trophy call out. There's a trophy where you have to play this one level and you can only turn left, and it's called Blue Steel.
I love it.
So
I love it.
If you get that reference, you get that reference. But anyway, that's all I've been playing.
Dude, that's amazing. Oh, gosh, dude. I need to meet these developers. If you're listening, I don't know how the developers would listen to this, but if you're listening, we need to hang out. I feel like we would just say all sorts of movie references.
Get them on the podcast.
It'd be great.
Reach out.
Great. Just have an episode where all we talk about is movie references. And then we'll lock it behind the Patreon paywall like EA. And no, I'm kidding. We won't do that. Adam, you handsome bearded man. What have you been playing, dude? Catch us up, man. Where you been?
Yo, I've been gone and I missed y'all. It's been I listened to the podcast I think it was yesterday. The last one with you two recording. And it's true. It's been a wild month. I mean, by God's grace, we haven't slowed down too much up here in New York, and that's in New York. You know, we got restrictions and all that, but God's been good. So I'll talk a little bit more about where I was at last week with some of the different things going on as I get to the Recos at the end of the podcast. But I've been doing some gaming because of everything that I was just talking about or was hinting at. Haven't got to do as much as I might like to do, but I've got to play some over the last month and a half. I mean, what I do the first episode of the year, and then I've been ghosting you ever since.
Basically.
So got some catching up to do. So briefly finished Immortals Phoenix Rising. Enjoyed the game. You know, it's got some witty humor. The end is kind of a brutal run, just trying to get to, the top of this mountain that you got to get to. But I enjoyed it. You know, it's a Zelda clone. I didn't do a bunch of the exploration. I didn't feel like they're like what were they called in Breath of the Wild, like the little like temple things that you found all over the sheet. What are they called?
The shrines.
Their version of shrines weren't as good, so I didn't really care to hunt them down quite as much. But overall, the game was worth my time. I probably put 25 hours into it, so that was a good time. Also finished on the Switch Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. It's one of those games where
nice.
I've been wanting to play for a long time. Everybody talks about how good it was. Never played it on the Wii U. And it definitely had its challenges. Some of the levels were challenging. The final boss took me a few minutes, but knocked that one off. I kind of, after that one, I'm like, I need to take a break for some 3D platforming because it was just a lot going on there. So played that. Then I picked up, I had some games I was flipping around to. So I downloaded from the PlayStation Plus collection Resident Evil 7 on PlayStation 5. I watched the Village trailer and I'm like, I need to play 7 and see if I like it. The only one I've really played is Resident Evil 2. I'm like, let's try this first person game. I'm going to freak out. And I was nervous the whole time I was playing it. I'm only like 2.5, 3 hours in probably. I just beat the first boss, so I'm barely even that long,
Okay. Wait. Was that why you texted me you got Welcome to the Family a while back? I was so confused. I'm like, what do you mean you got Welcome to the Family? You've been married for years, bro.
I just got Welcome to the Family. That's what I was referencing.
Okay. Now I got it. Oh my
gosh. And so I'm playing, I was talking about this in the pre-show. I'm playing that game with a walkthrough and I'm still freaked out. Like I know what's about to happen. I know where the enemies are and I'm still like freaking out. I hate the games where like the guy is kind of constantly chasing you and you never know when they're going to jump out and grab you. Like that was my struggle with Resident Evil 2. I'm like, this Mr. X is freaking me out. I need him to calm down. And so I felt like that as I was playing this game in the beginning. So we'll see if I finish it. I just picked up Demon Souls, so I may jump over to that. Because I got from Hannah, this is really the best game that you can play right now. And so she's not really wanting the backseat gamer this one with me. So we'll see what happens with Resident Evil 7. But so I've been playing that a little bit. I'm pretty deep in Ori Will o' the Wisp, and man, what a delight those games are. I'm tempted to say that Ori might be the best IP that Microsoft has right now.
Oh snap!
Better than Halo. I mean, Halo.
Whoa!
Right now, I'm not saying overall, but right now they are doing better work than Halo has been putting out.
Oh my Lanta!
Because Halo 5 was, Halo 5. So. And the Master Chief Collection was also the Master Chief Collection. But Ori is great, man. I'm glad I'm getting to play it. The game is gorgeous. It's the right level of this is challenging, but it's not like bang your head up against the wall challenging. So I'm really, really enjoying those games and playing the second one now. So, and then the last thing I'll mention that I started just very, very, very briefly on my Switch is Hades. And so hopefully I want to finish Ori before I really dive into Hades. But as soon as I started playing it, I got the transistor and Bastion vibes, and I was like, oh, it was like comfort food just turning it on and seeing the overworld, not the overworld, but kind of the art style and the gameplay. It brought me back to Bastion and Transistor, and so I'm pretty excited about getting into it.
Nice.
But yeah, that's what I've been dabbling in per se. Played a little bit of Fortnite last week with my nephew when he was in town.
I'm slightly shocked that I haven't played Hades yet. Supergiant is one of my all-time faves, and I'm just holding out for the PS4 version. Basically, I guess there's, you can play it twice, but yeah, I'm still waiting to pick that up. But I am itching to play Hades.
Man, I thought you had played it already.
No, I haven't played it one bit.
Man, loyal Sony pony. I love it. I love it, man. You're more loyal than what I am because I totally played it on PC and Switch, but it's what it is. I won't get into that. I don't think people will like me talking about that game. Where's the Stadia? Did you buy a Stadia? Is that why you keep bringing it up?
You guys didn't know I'm getting paid behind the back to mention. I've got to mention it at least 20 times in this episode to get my royalty, and so
that's the marketing strategy now.
Gosh. Pavlov's dogs, every time I mention it, somebody's, thinking about buying one type thing.
Google out here, what's going to save our platform is if we find this Christian video game podcast and just have one of the hosts say Stadia every 5 minutes or so. That's what will save us.
It's like in The Office when they have Ryan Howard towards the end and he's like, eat fresh, Subway, eat fresh.
Eat fresh.
Stadia. Also on Stadia.
Stadia, eat fresh. Oh, man. I kind of want to title the episode that instead of gametography just to really mess with people, but I think maybe that's what I'll do for YouTube. I'll put that in the thumbnail. I'll be like, eat fresh, and then put the Stadia logo. Anyway, sorry, I'm daydreaming now. As far as what I've been playing, I'll talk about Cyber Shadow first before I get into the Destiny 2 Power Hour. So I've been playing Cyber Shadow, the new game published by Yacht Club Games. You guys are probably familiar with that studio because they are the ones that have made all the Shovel Knight stuff. So if you played that and enjoyed it, it's the same company, but it's a different company that made Cyber Shadow. I can't remember what the name of that company is. Yacht Club just published it. Anyway, all that to say, Cyber Shadow is a fun game when it's fun and a frustrating game when it's not fun. And that's really confusing. I get that. But what I mean is that this game is very similar to the Messenger or old NES Ninja Gaiden games. So if you've enjoyed those games, you'll love Cyber Shadow. But there's times where I'm playing the game and it just gets a little too hard for my liking, and then that's why it's taken me so long to finish the game, is because I keep playing it in what feel like 10 to 15 minute bursts where, I'll play until I get frustrated and then I stop playing. To keep in line with the Office references, Andy Bernard does not he does not lose competitions, he wins them, or he quits them because they are not fair. That's how I feel with this game. So I don't know. I keep telling myself I'm not going to finish this game. I'm not going to finish this game. I'm not going to finish this game. And then 5 minutes later, I find myself playing it again. And I don't know what it is, man. I get frustrated with it real easily, but I find myself coming back to it because when you get into that certain rhythm of where you're platforming really well, you're jumping off walls and you're doing your ninja thing as this robo ninja, and you're throwing the shurikens and you're deflecting things and you're like just getting these really cool moves pulled off. It's a blast. It really is. But man, there's times where the game just like it just punches you like a brick wall. And it's, I don't know. I think I'm just not very good at these kinds of games. I should probably leave these kinds of games to folks like Pastor Deucin and Marty over at Nintendo Dads, because this is clearly their style of game and where they shine really well. And I'm just kind of over here floundering like a fish out of water, so to speak. But the game that I'm not floundering like a fish out of water in is Destiny 2. A new season started up here a few weeks ago, and I've been enjoying it. In case you don't know what they changed in the new season, not a whole lot from what I can tell. They did change the season challenges from a weekly bounty thing that was really boring and stale that you would get from the different vendors on the tower to kind of a almost Fortnite style challenge thing where you get a set of 10 different challenges that load into the game each week. So if you don't finish the previous week's challenges, then you have like 20 to do, and then so on and so forth. And so I like it because it varies things up. It focuses more on the new Battlegrounds game type, which is basically like a horde mode or firefight in Halo, which is always good. I always love those game types. And the challenges force you to try different game modes, not to really overstay your welcome in there, especially if you hate Crucible, but it does have you dabble in there a little bit so you can get some extra XP or whatever kind of currency you want to use to buy some fancy emotes. But I'm enjoying it. Some of the new weapons they put in there are really good, and I kind of like the new story, kind of where that's going and where that's leading, and doing all that stuff. It's funny because I was looking at my quest log and turned out that I neglected a lot of stuff from the past couple of expansions. And so I've got plenty to do in that game, but not enough time. Still enjoying it though. So if any of you are jumping on the Destiny 2 train with the new season starting up, let me know, hop into the Discord and we'll get a group going, and I will basically be your Sherpa, so to speak, in guiding you through that. It's a new word I learned recently, Sherpa. It's like a guide or something, but it makes me think of like a sandwich. So.
You can also, and I don't know if our dear listeners are aware of this, but you can play Destiny 2 on Stadia.
Oh my God.
And so if you've got one and you want to play with Logan, it's there and available. It's one of the few games that's probably worth playing on Stadia.
I was about to say, I think that actually is on Stadia. But Logan, did you see that Bungie news that came out today or yesterday about their expansion and the other games planned and stuff?
I saw something about how like the studio is growing and they're wanting to divert more resources to like extra forms of media, like TV shows and stuff. And I'm like, yes, please.
Yeah, well, not only that, but they're basically going to split into two teams, I believe, and basically have a new IP ready by 2025 while also continuing the Destiny train with like the second team. So, yeah.
Okay, Bungie, I see you. Man, they split from Activision and then...
They're doing things, yeah.
They're doing things. I saw that thing about possibly doing a TV show, and I was like, please do it, because if you can show me the lore that you guys have written so well, but in a video format, like I'll take it. I'll take a five-part miniseries on the last word gun. Absolutely. It's a great piece of story. But no, that's awesome. Glad they're doing well. I would hope so, because I feel like I buy so many emotes every time the store resets. So, hey man, you get mad, you get knock it, I don't even know what I'm saying now. I'm like fumbling over my words. Words are hard. But me and Aki have the it's over 9,000 scanner check thing from it's in Destiny 2, from Dragon Ball Z. It's an awesome emote. Totally worth the money.
Don't even know what that means.
Of course you don't, because you don't watch anime. but the cool people know. The cool people know. Speaking of cool people and things that have nothing to do with that, guys, what have you been reading? Micah, let's start with you.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because, man, it's just getting to be a broken record now, but still reading Gentle and Lowly.
Give it to me.
I just looked at the show notes and saw it in there again. I'm like,
bring it in, baby. Bring it on.
Real quick. But I have
Lay it
more
on
of a,
hard.
I have more of a funny to talk about with this, and then I'm going to talk about something else. So, the author, Dane Orland, talks about, he's studying the Puritans and stuff. He talks about Thomas Goodwin and Goodwin's examination of Hebrews 4:14, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weakness, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. And so he was talking about, how they'll write up a 200 or 300 page essay on it. And I just thought this was hilarious. The title that Goodwin wrote on Hebrews 4:15 is this: "The heart of Christ in heaven towards sinners on earth, or a treatise demonstrating the gracious disposition and tender affection of Christ in his human nature, now in glory, unto his members under all sorts of infirmities, either of sin or misery." I just thought that title was hilarious and awesome. You got to love the Puritans. So I don't really have anything to say about that book. I just wanted to share that little quick anecdote. I quite enjoyed that. I've been reading through the Psalms. Whenever I get I'm unsure of kind of what book I want to read next, I always just, go back to Psalms and Proverbs. And been kind of down in the dumps lately, kind of in a bit of a doldrums. And I'm been reading. I kind of been in the late 20s and 30s in Psalms. So I was reading Psalm 32, and it's the thing is about the Holy Spirit will illuminate passages that you've read, hundreds and hundreds of times or whatever. And it just, has a whole new sort of meaning and emphasis in your life in that moment. And, just something as basic as this, Psalm 32, verses 1 and 2. "Blessed is the one whose transgressions is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man against whom the Lord counts no iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit." And man, that is such a basic truth. But, blessed is the man blessed is the man against whom the Lord counts no iniquity. And it's just like, man, there could be some junk going on in your life, sin, crap, whatever. But ultimately, Christ's blood is sufficient and covers me, and I'm good. So that was just a particularly encouraging note. Just sort of that spoke to me in that moment when I was reading that chapter. So just kind of a quick reco. If you're just kind of seem like floundering in the scriptures, not sure what to do, go to Psalms and Proverbs and just swimming around there for a while, and it's gonna be a blessing to you.
Yes.
I would definitely echo that. That's where those two is where I've gone when I'm just trying to figure out where do I read, where do I start back up. Really good places to start. Adam, man, what you been getting into?
Yeah, so finished Gentle and Lowly, and guys, I can't get on the train. It's so good, so good. But I am leading a growth group, is what we call our small groups at our church, on the book Adopted for Life by Russell Moore. And so it's just a book that's meant a lot to Hannah and I. And so I've been rereading that, and this group has been, honestly, I'm not being cliche. It's in many ways, it's like a dream come true for Hannah and I. We're getting to it's kind of the first fruits of the adoption ministry that's going to be happening and growing at our church. And so, or I guess not adoption ministry, orphan care ministry, because we have a lot of foster parents considering foster, adopting, all these different things. And so it's just been good kind of rereading through that. And just the way that it hits the gospel and our adoption to God's family. And that is, the heart behind. It's our why. It's our root. It's our anchor to why we do those things. And, adopting kids because you want to give them a home is not a bad thing. But as believers, it should go deeper than that for us as we look at our spiritual adoption. And so just such a good read. And so I'm glad to be reading through that again. So that's what I've been going through recently.
Nice. Well, dear listeners, I have not been reading Gentle and Lowly. I bought the book, and so I'm sure that once episode 186 rolls around, we'll just keep that train going, and I will be the one talking about it and being like, oh my gosh, why did I not read this sooner? But the book that I have been reading is We Become What We Worship by G.K. Beale. I think I mentioned this a few episodes ago, but I'm starting to divert more attention to it and trying to really finish this book because this is one that I've been very excited to read it. I just haven't diverted really hardly any time into reading it. And so the section that I just went through was basically comparing, or maybe not comparing is the right word, but talking about passages in Isaiah, specifically chapters, I think 40 and 44. I'd have to double check that. But just talking about how the sin of Israel was idolatry and kind of the effects of that and what that does, and then tying it into Psalm 115 that was talking about how, those the idols of the land are made of like iron and steel. They have mouths but cannot speak. They have eyes but cannot see. They have ears but cannot hear, that kind of thing. And basically hammering home the fact that we become what we worship. And if we worship idols, we become blind, deaf, and dumb, which is a common phrase in my youth group. It's something I say a lot to the point where my students, they just know, because I can ask them, what do idols make you? And they'll say blind, deaf, and dumb, easy, like without any kind of hesitation. And so as I was reading that though, and looking between Isaiah, those chapters in Isaiah and Psalm 115, dude, it is like, this is a reality I've always known, but it's always scary to be reminded of the fact that when it comes to worshiping an idol, is that if we focus on that so much without any kind of repentance or remorse, there's a point where God's wrath comes into play and he hands us over to that. And like, that's terrifying because as I tell my students, just because you think you're getting away with the sin doesn't mean God's okay with it. That's the point where he has handed you over into it for judgment. And that's not a good place to be. That's when you should be like, I should probably repent and turn back before this gets really, really bad. And so, man, just revisiting that, it shows, it reminded me of two things. One, God's wrath is a very real thing and it's scary. The second thing is God exercises a lot of patience from what I've noticed, at least in my own personal life, before he starts kind of just handing you over to it. And so, man, it's been good to revisit that. It's been a good reminder of God's grace and his mercy and the freedom that we can have in Christ. But man, it has been a sobering reminder at the same time of the danger of idols and how we should be focusing on Christ, which is fitting because that's basically what I'm going to be preaching on. Well, by the time this comes out in public feeds, it will have been this past Sunday. And so it's been a good time, man. I'm really excited to get more into this book and kind of see where G.K. Beale goes with this. So far, it seems like he is very solid biblically, and it's been a good read so far. Been enjoying it so far. Really, really good stuff. Now, before we get into the topic of the show, just a quick reminder to leave a rating and review of this podcast on your podcast app of your choice, whether that is on Podchaser's website or iTunes or whatever podcast app you use. That helps us out in a big way in terms of getting the podcast in front of more people. Now, let's get to the topic of the show. Now, here's the thing, guys. It used to be gamers would record these cool moments in video games and post them online, whether it's through their phone or, in our cases, in our younger years of, the SNES, GameCube, all that's time frames, we would go to the schoolyard and tell our friends about it and be like, oh man, I did this cool thing in Halo. MySpace even. Yeah, even MySpace, Oh man, that's a throwback. Can you Adam, can you get MySpace on Stadia? Just curious.
There's a button on there. You click the share and it gives you options of which socials you want to share to. And the first one, of course, because it's Stadia, would be MySpace.
Dope. What about Zynga? Can we get that on there? Man, I'm curious who knows about Zynga that listens to this podcast.
You can post it to your LinkedIn profile. You can drop it on your MySpace, all the happening spaces.
You can post it on your LinkedIn. Oh man, because the one thing that'll land you a job is your kill streak in Call of
That's
Duty.
what they want to see is your sweet screenshots on your LinkedIn profile.
They're like,
Bro. Oh man, this guy's got skills. Anyway, nowadays though, we got these fancy new machines. We're finding new creative ways to show off our favorite game moments via what is a new feature in a lot of games called photo mode.
Nailed it. Magnifique. Nice composition, if I do say so myself.
So we've been wanting to do an episode like this for a while, and kind of going to spend some time talking about it. Kind of, our first experiences with the photo modes. What do we really enjoy about photo modes? What do we hate about photo modes? And kind of what draws people to photo modes. Now, of course, we have Micah on because he's our resident gametographer. And this might be a little kind of putting us on the spot here a little bit. It's kind of hard to really think back and pinpoint some of these experiences. But do you guys remember your first experience with a photo mode in a game? And Micah, we'll hand this one off to you first.
This isn't a photo mode, but it kind of was the genesis of where some of this started. It may be a little surprising, but Halo 3, all the way back in 2007, was kind of one of the first guys to do that with their like theater mode or whatever it was called. I can't even remember. I'm probably getting it wrong. You can basically save the replays and take snapshots and stuff from different angles. But I guess more recently, when you think of a photo mode, quote unquote, you pretty much think of first party Sony studios. At least I do. So Horizon Zero Dawn back in 2017 was the first one that's like, okay, hold on. Let's look at this for a while and let's spend some time here because there's a lot of good tools here. A lot of awesome filters and various things, like pretty much anything that you would want to do with a real camera, you can kind of do here in the game. And that's when it was illuminating, and I wound up spending, 15-minute sessions in photo mode. I'm like, oh, I guess I need to start playing the game again and stuff like that. So yeah, I get Horizon Zero Dawn was probably the first real one that's like, okay, this is a legit thing.
Gotcha. Micah, or not Micah. You just went Micah. Adam, what about you?
If your first experience with gametography wasn't with the Game Boy Photo, whatever that was,
you weren't just thinking of that.
You weren't living, you had to go to like a Blockbuster or something, get the pictures printed out. It was craziness. My OG photo mode was a little bit game called Pokemon Snap. Going around snapping those photos, getting the perfect shot. Honestly, you guys are definitely going to be leading this conversation. I've dabbled here and there. I get inspired by my brethren here on the podcast, seeing their beautiful photos. And so I've pulled up and taken a couple. I'm trying to think what game might have been. Last of Us, did it have a photo mode? The first one? I don't remember which one, but I've played around with a few of them. Horizon Zero Dawn, I played around with that one. Ghost of Tsushima, played around with that. But if I'm being real, Pokemon Snap is really where I got. That's where my most memorable moments, messing around with the camera, making sure you're getting the right shot, and just having a good time with it in that area. So that's where I'll put my stake in the ground.
Fair enough, man. I was going to mention the Game Boy camera as well, because if you didn't get your start there, like, man, you missed out. What a neat little device.
What a device.
No, it was, oh man, what a weird little thing, Nintendo. So let's not talk about Nintendo. My first experience with, I'm trying to think of what game it was that I first played that actually had a photo mode, and I honestly can't remember what the first game was. I remember getting the PS4 and being surprised that there was a share button on there that would take screenshots. And so it seemed like anytime I was playing a game early on, whether it was Killzone Shadowfall or Infamous Second Son, anytime something cool happened, I would try to snap a picture of it and always miss it by just a few seconds. I'm like, man, I wish there was a way that I could pause this or something and take a picture. And then, they started introducing it in more and more games. And I can't remember what game it was originally. I mean, I played Pokemon Snap and messed around with the Game Boy camera, but as far as like a more modern game, I can't remember what the first game was. I just remember being fascinated by the fact that on the PlayStation 4 I could press a button and it would take a screenshot, and so I just did that with just about every game I played, in all honesty, and just shared them to Facebook. I didn't share them to MySpace. I didn't have a Stadia, so I wasn't cool. but I just tried to share them and go from there. So I think my first real experience was with a PS4, but I don't know what that first game was. I just remember being like, oh my gosh, there's a share button. So, but the thing of it is, though, is that with that, we've kind of seen them evolve over years, and we've seen like little small startups with the Game Boy camera, the Pokemon Snap. Some people probably even argue that Fatal Frame had a photo mode where you basically take pictures of ghosts to free them. I don't know how the game works, but you have that, and then you have other games. Oh man, I just lost the other game that I was just thinking of where you use a camera.
How about Dead Rising?
Thank you. That's what it was. Dead Rising, where you have to take pictures of the zombies or the unique situations, or I forget what they call the human bosses in that. They're like psychos or something like that.
Something like that.
So, I mean, you've seen little bits of that, but then like you've seen, especially here recently, studios go, people like to capture their cool moments in a game. Why not give them a mode that allows them to just take off with that? And so we've seen it in a few games here and there, but I think some of the more recent ones that we can think of course, are Spider-Man. A lot of us were flooding our timelines with pictures of Miles going around New York, or even Peter Parker going around, and getting just all sorts of different shots. You got Horizon Zero Dawn, you've got Last of Us Part 1 and 2, you've got God of War was another one. Trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, people shared a lot of pictures from Breath of the Wild because you could pull up your Sheikah slate and use that to take pictures. Animal Crossing has one in it too. It's very rudimentary, but it's still there. And so I'm sure if I'm forgetting one, those of you that are listening will remind me. But there's something about it, man. There's something about a really good photo mode. And so, Micah, for you, when it comes to going into a photo mode, or I guess I should back up a little bit and explain it. I mean, because photography has been around for ages. I went to school for it years and years and years ago. And so I naturally lean that way because that's just a hobby I've always really enjoyed. It's an expensive hobby, but it's a hobby that I've always enjoyed, and just trying to find the right photo, get the lighting just right, get manipulating the focus to where it really just makes your subject kind of pop, those kind of things. And so it's fun to snap a picture and see kind of what all you can do with just the hardware. But then when you get into the software side of things, of putting it into Photoshop or even just an app on your phone, it's really cool to see kind of the different things you can do and all the effects you can add. And now we're seeing a lot of that come into video games. And so, Micah, for you, man, a few things. Let's start with this. What draws you into a photo mode? Like, why are you interested in photo modes as much as you are?
Yeah, that's a great question, I think. For me, I've talked a lot about this on the show in the past, but art and art styles are one of the main draws for games. If I'm not into the art, I'm probably not going to play the game. And so, yeah, just I'm drawn to that naturally. I'm drawn to the atmosphere I'm in. I play games for atmosphere a lot. Like, that's why I love Control so much. That game just oozes atmosphere. And so, I want to capture that. So whether it's an iconic character like Spider-Man or, a beautiful vista in Ghost of Tsushima, there's something about that art that I'm just drawn to. So, that's it for me. And it's wild. I sort of alluded to it earlier, how much time I can waste just in these photo modes, not realizing I'm just, I've spent more time in a given play session in photo mode than actually playing the game. And I don't I don't put down the controller, and I'm not disappointed by that. I just feel like it's time well spent. It's almost like its own sort of chase and drive to keep improving and keep getting a better shot and finding the better, and get that field of view and the depth of field just right, and then put that good filter on it or whatever. And I don't know, just I've been inspired by other people on Twitter, other gametographers, virtual photographers, they're sometimes called. I've been challenged and inspired. So it's like, I see the work that they're putting out. I'm like, dang, that is some good stuff. I know I can accomplish that with the same tools. I just got to figure out how to do it. And so I just spend a lot of time doing that. It's a lot of trial and error and tinkering with settings. I was like, okay, how does this work exactly? Because I don't get it. And I just play with it for a while. I was like, okay, so you can do, you can do this. Okay. And you sort of peel back these layers of how to frame and capture a shot. So I was sort of going back through, that's how I found that old Nintendo Direct reaction from a couple of years ago, Logan. I was going back on my timeline, looking at old photos and seeing how I had progressed and, kind of improved and things like that. So yeah, for me, it's super duper relaxing, first and foremost, especially a game like Ghost of Tsushima, or Horizon Zero Dawn, great, outdoor visuals. And just they give you, particularly in Horizon Zero Dawn and Ghost of Tsushima's case, those are two of the very best photo modes I've ever tinkered with. They just give you all the tools that you would hope and want. And yeah, so that's kind of the draw for me. Yeah.
Right on. And that's one of the things that I've noticed, kind of just from seeing you share photos and seeing other people share photos, is that you can definitely tell from your shots, especially with like Spider-Man, that they have continued to get better and better and better. And I see you retweeting other people sharing stuff. Well, there was some guy that shared some shots from Spider-Man, the remastered one on PS5, where he was wearing the Sam Raimi Spider-Man suit, and it literally looked like pictures from the movies. And it really blew my mind, because I'm like, dude, we are at a point where people are taking pictures of games, and I can't distinguish it from, like, I can't distinguish between if it's a game or a movie at this point, because it looks that close together. And man, it's nuts to just kind of see that and see just how far video games have come visually. I remember playing games on the old 8-bit NES, and then going from that to now, it's a trip. It's a trip to see that. But
and I'll jump in just right there real quick, Logan, because that's, while I don't take a ton of photos, I think that is the draw, is how far we have come in the graphics department that makes you, like Mike was saying, you're not wasting your time, because you're like legit making some awesome creative art. I remember like the few times I messed around with it on my PlayStation 4, really. On PlayStation 4, you could take that photo, that screenshot, and set it as your theme, as your background. Yeah. And like, that's super cool to be able to look at your background and say, like, this isn't some stock photo, like this is something that you did, which was really neat. And so I did a couple of those when I had my PS4, and you can't do that yet on PS5, and maybe at some point you can, but like, those are the things, is if you had a photo mode on 64 or something, like it, at the time we would be like, this is amazing, but really, I mean, it's like, polygonal, all these things, but now 4K HD, awesome photos, awesome realistic graphics, like that's what makes these things really flourish, really come out. That draw is like, this is something that you can be proud of. This is something you can hang on your wall. This is something you want to show to others because of how advanced games have gone in this area.
Yeah, I've talked to Emily recently. I felt like it was. I was talking to her about this. About if I ever have, I don't have one right now, but if I ever had kind of like a sort of a man cave or a place to sort of like a dedicated room for my video games or whatever, or like a movie room, I would want to frame some of my shots and like put up like 4 or 5 of them or something like that. Because you're right. There is that sort of ownership of it. I did the same thing, Adam. I put them on my wallpaper on my PS4. So yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Mm.
And kind of going with that, it's one of those things, we talked about how maybe we mentioned in passing how we used to kind of tell people about the games that we're playing, but now we get to like show them in some kind of format, whether it's video or a picture from the game, and show them like, this is something that I did in the game. So it's another way of just kind of showcasing something cool that you did. I remember having several shots from Spider-Man, both the original game with Peter Parker and then the one with Miles Morales, where I'm like, I remember, there's this cool shot I have of where Miles is shooting a web at someone, and he's got his other arm arched back, and he's charging it up with one of those Venom shocks. And it just looks so cool because when you mess with the exposure and everything, it looks like his hand is like about to shoot out this just ball of light, and you have a certain suit on with the eyes lit up. There's so many things that you can do that just make it look super stinking cool.
Miles Morales introduced it, and then the remastered Spider-Man that came out for PS5 also has it as well. But a lighting tab section, whatever, in the photo mode that I've not seen in any other games. And for that reason, Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered are my favorite photo mode, period. You can get some outstanding shots just because of the lighting. Obviously, any photograph is, hugely dependent on lighting and good lighting. So to be able to manipulate that just so is fantastic. And one of my personal, just like, I don't know, like achievements or whatever from gaming, I tweeted out 4 Spider-Man shots talking about the lighting, and Insomniac picked it up and retweeted it. And I couldn't believe it. Insomniac Games, the developer of Spider-Man. So they, like, my phone all of a sudden started blowing up with like hundreds of likes and stuff. I was like, holy moly.
I remember seeing them retweet that, and I was like, oh, dude, these are cool shots. And then I saw who it was. I'm like, wait, I know him.
Yeah, I literally posted it, and then like 2 minutes later, I look at my phone. I'm like, wait, what? There's like, I had 10 notifications on my Twitter app or whatever. I'm like, that's not regular.
No, not at all.
But lighting in that Spider-Man photo mode is really something else for sure.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because we've seen our fair share of photo modes and kind of what they're able to produce. Micah, let me ask you, man, what makes a good photo mode? Because obviously it's not just pausing the game and then being able to take the picture and rotate it around. There's got to be some extra features that make it a really great photo mode. So what are some things that you would say make a photo mode really good and worth spending time in?
Yeah, you got to have options. You got to have feature sets. More tabs, the better. Adjusting things. It's not just putting a filter on it, getting it framed. Things like I said before, getting the field of view how you want it. And then putting some depth of field there and getting the right focus on what you want to focus on. So yeah, just sort of those options. The more options, the better. When I booted up Ghost of Tsushima's photo mode, when I hit photo mode and paused it for the first time, my jaw hit the floor. So I was like, because first of all, it didn't look like you're in photo mode. Everything was still, all the wind was blowing and everything. It's just kind of your character was paused.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, whoa, this is cool. And started going through all the features, and like it was very, very robust. Things I'd never seen before in a photo mode. So yeah, just give me options. But those are I keep mentioning them: field of view and depth of field. Those go a huge way in lining up a good shot. And if you can kind of master those two things, you're going to be sitting pretty good. But yeah, just give me all the options. The more features, the better. And just let the users, the players, who are intelligent, just start making stuff. To start playing with it. Just give us that leash, and we'll run with it.
Gotcha. Now, I'll be honest. When I open up a photo mode and see like all these different levers and dials and sliders and things like that, I'm kind of in my wheelhouse because it just feels like I'm in Photoshop at that point, and I'm used to it. But Adam, I want to know from you, man, as someone who admittedly doesn't really spend a whole lot of time in photo modes, when you open a photo mode and seeing all of those options to change things, is that overwhelming to you?
Honestly, so for me, some of it is like simplicity, because usually I'm gonna end up causing more damage than I am benefiting my photo. The more sliders I get, the more personalization. For me, when I'm messing around with one, I kind of, again, because I'm not doing I'm not as serious as you guys are. I'm looking for just the fun stuff. I like the goofy filters that they bring on. I like when some of the games you can mess with their faces and stuff. Like those are the fun aspects that I look at. Again, those aren't the ones that, every once in a while you can get some really great shots with those things. But that's for me when I'm just getting on, just wanting to mess around with it. I got a few minutes to kill, but I can't really progress in this or that. And so I'll get in there and mess around with that. But definitely, it's like if I get in Photoshop even now, in my ministry position, I do some different things and I don't have any background in that, any training. And I get in there and sometimes I'm like, just don't screw it up to a level where you can't reset it. Because if I'm not careful, I'll be editing something and be like, crap, I don't know if I can go back from here. And so sometimes it's better for me if it is more simple. And so, but at the same time, I get that for those who are really into it, that those other options are definitely ideal.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was wondering that because I was just kind of thinking about that just now. Like it's easy for me to open it up because I would like that. Like I said, that's just kind of what I'm used to, but I never really thought of what it would be like for someone who, doesn't have that kind of background. And it's like, you open it up and it's like, whoa, there's a lot going on here, especially with Ghost of Tsushima's photo mode. Because while I really love all of the extensive features that they have, I sometimes wonder if that's a little too much. And some of you dear listeners can write in and kind of let us know what you guys think about photo modes. But when it comes to photo modes themselves, what do you guys think the perception is? Do you think that this is a feature that people really want in video games, or do you think it's just kind of like, as much as I talk about trophies and love trophies, it seems like it's a bit of a niche within gaming. Do you think photo mode is something that's going to grow in popularity, or do you think it's something that's going to just kind of fizzle out? And Adam, I'll kick that one back to you.
No, I think it's going to keep growing. Again, with the with what we were just talking about with the way the graphics are continuing to go forward, I think right now it's a big deal when someone, if it doesn't have the photo mode, when you get that update and it's got photo mode a part of the update, you see people push that as, hey, major update coming, blah, 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 blah. New game plus photo mode added. I think that in a year or two, maybe not with some of the smaller indie games, but if it's a big AAA title game, you're going to be thinking, if it doesn't have a photo mode, like, what were they thinking? It's like people feel that way with platinum trophies right now. Like, if you're a gamer and you don't have a platinum trophy, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, it shouldn't be and a photo mode is really, I think, going to be one of those things, especially with this next generation, with graphics just, 8K going to be becoming a thing. A lot of what you see on PC already. Let's be real. But as consoles continue to push that, I definitely don't see it going anywhere. I think it's going to continue to grow and stretch, and you're going to see a lot more of what Micah and I were talking about a minute ago, where people begin to, if they're not already, publishing things that they're doing in video games and either putting it in their house or selling it because of the abilities and the way that you are able to really do some amazing things. So I definitely don't see it going anywhere. Now, again, it won't always be for everybody. It's not going to probably be something that I will ever really get into, but I don't think it's going anywhere because of all the things I just said.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. When you sort of mentioned it earlier, Logan, when Sony put the share button on the PS4, that solidified it. And then Nintendo reinforced it by putting a share button or a photo, mode, a photo button, whatever, on their controller. So, and the thing is about it is it's free marketing. It's like the marketing button is what it is. It's not the share button, it's the marketing button, and it's free. And so every developer has an incentive to put it in there. That's why it's going to grow and it's going to keep going. Again, you said it, Adam. If a AAA big budget game doesn't have it, you're going to be like, what?
I think you just hit the nail on the head, Micah. The free marketing. Why would a game that you want to be selling copies? This is a free way to get people talking about it. You start tweeting out, hey, look at this sweet photo. I mean, you see it all the time with Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, a lot of these PlayStation exclusives. People start sharing their photos from that game, and they're like, I can't wait to play this game. I can't wait to do this. I mean, look at these graphics. I think you hit it on the head right there. That it is a great, great advertising tool that video games, they will only be hurting themselves by not having it in there.
And it's a whole new subgenre of people that are doing this. Go on Twitter and search gametography or virtual photography, and you're going to get some killer hits. I mean, just insane stuff. Like, just do yourself a favor, just spend 3 minutes doing that. It's some really great stuff sitting out there. And yeah, I don't see it going anywhere. It is, like you said, people are looking for it in that day one patch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for that in the bullet points of the game. It's only going to grow. It's free marketing. People are more and more getting on board, and like Adam said, it's not going to be for everybody. And Logan, going back to your point about kind of getting into photography stuff, I have no photography background whatsoever. And I just dove into this stuff and started teaching myself. And, and I'm not, an expert or anything, but I mean, I think I can crank out a decent shot. So, don't be intimidated. Just spend some time with it. I understand not everyone has the time, but, if it's something you want to get into, you do have to spend a little bit of time, in a photo mode and getting used to it.
It's funny that you mentioned the gametography thing on, even just on Twitter. I typed in the hashtag right now and I'm getting some pretty awesome screenshots from games like Sea of Thieves, The Last of Us Part 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, Red Dead Redemption 2, even Immortals Phoenix Rising. This is some impressive stuff. Ghost of Tsushima just popped up because I refreshed it. I would even say Instagram, of course, is where pictures live, so you can even check it out there. And there's been several that I've seen on there, and I've posted. Really, if you follow TRG on Instagram, that's basically what that page is devoted to, is sharing screenshots and photos from games that, at least that I'm playing at the time, and anybody else that submits one, we'll post them there. I completely forgot about the whole marketing aspect of it, because I was just even thinking about how I shared a video of Cyber Shadow last week or 2 weeks ago, and we got so many comments. Not so many, I shouldn't say so many, but there was at least 2 people asking, like, what is this? This game looks awesome. And I told them what it was, and they were like, okay, I'm going to look for this game next time I'm in the eShop or on PlayStation or whatever that is. So even just allowing, because I know on Nintendo Switch, developers can disable the ability to record footage or take screenshots, which I think is, at this point, I hate to say it's dumb because that just sounds really mean, but it's not a very wise thing to do, because there's been a few games where I've tried to take a screenshot or something and it wouldn't let me. And I'm like, well, I was going to tweet out about this, but now I'm not going to, because I'm not going to remember to do that after I finish playing this game.
Persona 5 says hi.
Do what?
I said Persona 5 says hi.
Oh, gosh, dude. I remember when I tried to stream that and they blocked out the entire game after the intro. And I'm like, okay, I see how it is. But then you just get a capture card and bypass that whole thing. And it's like, what up?
There you go.
So, but yeah, man, I totally forgot where I was going to go with this after I said that. But no, dude, it's fine. It got me to think about a few things, because the business aspect of it is really, really smart. But so with that, though, there it is. Now I'm remembering where it is, because it comes back to this whole idea of, why should we get into photo modes? Why should we even care? I don't know. I just think it's cool, right? I know for me, when it comes to art, it's one of those things where I'm just a creative personality. That's something that God has just given me. And this is another avenue where I can use a new feature inside of a game to express that or flex those muscles a little bit. Kind of like how people really enjoy trophies in games or achievements or things like that. This is another add-on, really. Another little, I don't want to call it like dressing or something, but another additive that enhances that gameplay experience because, I'll just leave it up to you, dear listeners. If you go to Instagram or Twitter and type in the gametography thing, or the other one, Micah, you said it was virtual photography.
Right.
You type that in, like, people are creating some pretty cool stuff. Like, this is some stuff I would legit want to have printed on like a canvas or something like that, or even a metal. There's some company that prints these things on metal plates that you can get and put them on your wall. I forget the name of the company, but I would even have some, like, there was a few shots from Spider-Man that I took where I'm like, I would love to have this on my wall because this looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but man, I don't know. It's one of those things, and this might be one of our shorter discussed topics, but this is just something that I think is just really cool and something that is just a lot of fun to, or I guess an extra added layer of fun into the games that you play. As someone who has gone to school for photography, I mean, I would just tell you, there aren't really a whole lot of rules when it comes to photography. I could talk about rule of thirds and aperture and shutter speed and all that stuff, but it's one of those things where if you're playing a game, forget the rules, experiment with the sliders, goof off a little bit, and just have some fun with it and see what you can come up with. Because that's been the one thing that I've always enjoyed with our community is when games like Ghost of Tsushima come out, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, people are experiencing with these photo modes and just trying to see what kind of cool shots they can get, and then they post them into Facebook or on Twitter or in the Discord, and it's like, that's really cool. It's like, how'd you do that? And they would, be able to share. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So if any of you dear listeners, like I said, we got this gametography contest going on. If you have a really cool shot that you're proud of, send it in. Again, tag at the TRG podcast account, use the hashtag TRG gametography. You got a little over a week to send those in. Let's see what kind of shots you can come up with. I think this is just one of those things where those of us that are more creatively inclined as Christians can really come up with something really cool and just kind of be able to share that and garner some stories around that. But Micah, man, with you being a kind of getting into, well, not kind of, you're into gametography, are there any specific accounts that you look up to or some of your favorite accounts to kind of look at? I know I've got some here in the show notes. I don't know if those are ones that you interact with. But
I only have one written down actually, but I love her. She is a huge Horizon Zero Dawn gametographer. She goes by at Kaytana, Kaytanaa. Her stuff is always getting ripped off because it's so good. I saw one point someone tried to start selling her prints, so she had to start putting her watermarks on the print.
Wow.
So, yeah, she is excellent. She's primarily in Horizon all the time, but she goes around to kind of all the hot games at the time. So she stays in the zeitgeist, but she's always going back to Horizon Zero Dawn, which is still a beautiful game here 4 years later. So yeah, I would recommend her, Kaytana, at Kaytana on Twitter. And yeah, that's mine.
Gotcha. Adam, I know this one is kind of putting people on the spot.
I got one for you. I got one.
Okay,
you can find him on Twitter. It's at Doug's Vest. He does some pretty good shots every once in a while.
That's dope. I like it. I like it. For those of you that are on Twitter, I'll even recommend these folks as well. Bad Gamer Elite is one that follows the podcast. I don't even know if he listens to the podcast, but hey, man, if you're listening, recommending you. Everybody go check it out. Links to really all these will be in your show notes. Excuse me. Links to all these will be in your show notes, including Micah's Twitter account. The other one that I'll recommend as well, and this is one that I found when we were really getting into Days Gone in preparation for the episode and just really diving into that game. At Viking Dad 278 on Twitter, he primarily does Days Gone screenshots and videos. Dude, the stuff that I've played with Days Gone photo mode, and I feel like I've gotten some pretty decent shots. I got one that was like Deacon giving this like really scared, shocked face, and we used it as a meme template for a while. And man, some of the shots that he gets, I don't know how he does it, but man, do they look stinking cool. So those are two that I would recommend. And I know Bad Gamer Elite is with the Gametographers on Twitch. So there's a Twitch channel you guys can check out. I've seen him play around in Fortnite's creative mode and get some shots that way. Because seeing some of the shots from Fortnite that he was posting. I'm like, is there a photo mode of Fortnite and I just missed it? No, he's in creative mode and he's manipulating things in there and getting some really cool shots. And so those are some that I would recommend. Those are our recos for gametographers. You can check those out, dear listeners. Links will be in your show notes. And if you have any particular pages, whether it's on Instagram, Twitter, wherever, Stadia, that you prefer, send them in to us and we'll check them out and see kind of what we can do. But gametography, man, it's a whole new thing within gaming. If you're not familiar with it, hopefully this kind of was a good introduction to that, and you can use this as a springboard to check it out and use that to maybe, I don't know, I was just thinking from a ministry aspect, if you're a youth pastor, this might be a good thing for you to know for your students, because they might be interested in gametography, and this would be an avenue that they could explore, because maybe I'm jumping the branch here, whatever the word is, jumping ahead. I don't know what it is, but I could see some people taking some pretty good shots in photo modes, and then developers look at that and they're like, we should probably bring them on for our PR team, our marketing team, and get them to do some shots. So gametography, man, that's what it is. Dear listeners, you can let us know what you think of gametography really on all of our social media stuff, Discord, things of that nature. Let's keep the conversation going over there. With that being said, episode 185 is coming to a close. But before we let you go, a few things. One, this is our second episode of the month. And as always, we do our patron thank yous here on the podcast, on the show. I don't know why I said podcast weird. Maybe I didn't say words are hard. You get the idea. That being said, Adam, we did get some new patrons in, so I readjusted the notes here. The things in red, I'll say. The things in blue, you can say, and then we'll go back and forth from there. But huge shout out. Thank you to those of you that follow us. Sorry, not follow us. Huge shout out and thank you to those of you that support us over on Patreon.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
And those folks are Alex Castellanos, Andre Swan, Ashley Cronenbitter, Christopher Commander, Daryl Tavares, David B., David Henderson, Derek Smith,
Jake Walker, James Barker, Jeffrey Jackson, Jimmy Chenga, Joanne Monroe, Josh Broccolo, Caleb Kokoradaki,
Mark Fromy, Matt Edwards, Matthew White Chocolate McDougall, Matt Millsap, Melvin Benson V, Micah Hendrick, Michael Toller, and our newest patron,
Yes.
Mr. Butts.
Mr. Butts. Love it. Love it. Nate McKeever, Pastor Shay, Retro Rewind Podcast, Ryan, 1701E, Sam White, Samuel Kalunga, Third Strongest Mole, and Weatherman Keefe.
Wesley Ray, Xavier Medina, guys, thank you, guys and gals, thank you so much for supporting us over on Patreon. I'm not gonna lie, when I got
and shout out to I don't know if it's Javier or Xavier, just got recently got engaged.
he did,
On
yeah,
Facebook. So shout out to him. He's been a great supporter and encourager to us, and so shout out to you, man. Congratulations.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Side note, when I saw the email come through about Mr. Butts supporting us on Patreon, I immediately thought of The Office, where Dwight and Jim are in the office thing, and they're having it was after their performance review because Kelly was mad at them because they didn't go to her birthday party or something. and Dwight picks up the call and he's like, "Who am I speaking with?" And then Jim goes, "This is William S. Buttlicker," or something like that. And he's like, "Are you serious?" It's like, go with it. It's just The Office.
I think of what was it, Homestar Runner, where he's like, "Picking your butt, that's gross," or something like that. I think Strong Bad.
Strong Bad, yeah, dude. Oh man. What a show, dude. There's such good content out there. It's so funny. I'm sure a lot of people are very interested in watching The Office or Strong Bad now after the glowing recommendation that we just gave it. And that sounds like it's, I'm just going to stop talking before we get into, I'm just going to stop there. Anyway, some recos.
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
Some things you should definitely check out before we let you go. Micah, I'm a little confused by yours, but go for it, man. What's your reco?
Oh man, I completely forgot about Recos, which is like I can't even believe that because I love Recos. But I do. This is legit. This isn't a joke. I'm recommending ramen. Go get yourself some ramen noodles. It is cold right now, and I'm not talking about some top ramen. I'm not talking about Marichan in the grocery store. I'm talking about get you some legit Like,
get the cheap stuff.
No, legit ramen from like a Japanese house somewhere local. You got to have some good ramen somewhere, or make yourself some. Me and
we've frozen in. We can't even get out. Some of these people, they're listening here. They're frozen in Texas and in New York.
I'm just saying, whenever you can, get some ramen noodles in your life because it's so good.
I recently kind of got back into ramen not too long ago. I'm like, Hannah's like, why are you buying this? I'm like, every once in a while you just need a pack of cheap ramen.
I'm not turning my nose up to cheap ramen. I love that stuff too. But I'm just saying, I've been getting some like legit ramen, and it's good stuff.
True that.
I'll give my reco. So I mentioned it earlier for later. So last week at our church there's a church in Indiana called Faith Lafayette, and they've really become one of, I'm sure there's many, but really champions of like biblical counseling. And so we went through their biblical counseling training conference last week, and it was, man, guys, it was some excellent stuff. I mean, it was serious deal. I mean, we were there, 8, I was there only till 5, but it went till 6:30. And it's the first year they stream it. Usually you have to go to Indiana to do it, but it was legit information. Like it was, it's training for me to get to grow in how to counsel through different situations and stuff. And just really a foundation was the track that I was on, but it felt like I went through counseling. I've been telling people, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm like, I think I'm already a better dad. I'm already a better husband. My marriage is better. And we just went through the stuff last week. It was just some really, really good content. And so if you ever get a chance to check out some of the information, again, you can go to faithlafayette.org or com or something. And they've got a lot of resources there already. But again, their biblical counseling training stuff was just top notch. If anyone's interested in that type of counseling.
Right on. Well, as far as my recos go, I mean, I put Destiny 2 on there again, just reminding y'all, if you are getting into Destiny 2, whether it's on PC or PS4, let me know. I'll be happy to kind of show you the ropes a little bit and help you out with that, and maybe run a couple strikes or the new battlegrounds with you. I'll actually be doing that on Twitch almost every Friday. One thing I do want to mention is just to one of the reco, I didn't put it in the notes here, but I'll have to do that after the show, but just to be constantly in prayer for a variety of things. Kind of what spurred this on is just this whole recent, I'm trying to say recent winter weather storm, and I was like messing up in my head as thinking about it. With this recent weather storm that's kind of gone through various areas of the country, freezing things, causing busted pipes, a lot of issues. I was like, man, we need to like really be praying. And as I've been talking to other streamers, content creators, pastors and stuff, like it's nuts, man. I know stuff like this can kind of get us feeling like, it feels like not necessarily the end of the world, but pretty heavy. And prayer is one of those things that I think we definitely need to do, either praying for someone else or for ourselves, because I know this stuff is easy to get stressed out about. Just one of those things to be praying for. I know I've been praying for churches here in Texas and my pastor friends and other content creators, just seeing how they're dealing with this stuff. So I've been praying for you guys, but I think prayer is one of those things we need to not neglect in general, whether we're frozen or, we're in a foot of sunshine or something, whatever that meme was I saw on Twitter the other day. So yeah. Now, with that being said, guys and gals, thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Reformed Gamers. Micah, as always, man, thank you for coming on to the show. Greatly appreciate it. And looking forward to more shots that you get from whatever game it is that you're playing.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Now, dear listeners, just a quick reminder, if you like what we do here at the show and you want to support us, you can do that in a few different ways. One of them is by going to our merch store, buying yourself a hoodie or a t-shirt or, I don't know, sticker, whatever you want. In the merch store, you can drop there. You can drop money there. You get the idea. Words are hard. I'm losing it here at the end of the show. Or you can go over to patreon.com and pledge as low as $1 a month to get the show early and uncut. So if you really want to see, I guess you wouldn't see, if you want to hear all the stuff that that, wow, words are so hard right now. If you want to hear all of the things that Skinner does not get to edit out, because we literally just put up the raw recording for early uncut listeners, you can pay for that and enjoy that and be like, man, wow, Logan, golly, how does he do? How does he talk? I don't know. Can he talk? Nobody knows. Anyway, dear listeners, if you guys want to interact with us, there's a variety of ways that you can do that as well. You can go over to our website, thereformedgamers.com, for things like news articles, retrospectives, show notes, all sorts of fun stuff over there that has links to all of our social accounts, such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, those kind of places. And as always, you can hang out with me on Twitch, twitch.tv/theologan, every Friday morning from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Usually just kind of hang out for a couple hours, and then we play Destiny or Dark Souls or, I don't know, maybe one of these, maybe a Mario game or something, whatever. Depends on the mood. But yeah, so links for all of that, though, will be in your show notes, so you don't have to remember anything. We're just kind of taking care of it for you. So with that being said, I am going to go play Persona 5 Strikers now. And so, dear listeners, thank you for listening to this episode. And until next time, be a dear, keep it locked here. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Reformed Gamers, the podcast all about theology and gaming. TRG is edited by Dear Ear Productions, so thank them for the buttery smooth tones in your ear. If you're looking for extra content, head on over to youtube.com/thereformedgamers. The Reformed Gamers is entirely fan-supported over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers by our dear patrons. The following deer are at the producer level or higher and will forever be thanked at the end of each show, as long as their pledge comes through, or we forget to update the audio. Those people are Mr. Butts, Caleb, Alex Castellanos, Pastor Shay, and Wesley Ray. Thank you for your support on patreon.com, keeping our controllers charged, and supporting Logan in his never-ending quest to collect them all. Platinum trophies, that is. So be a dear and keep it locked here. Keep listening. We'll catch you later.